Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a new series that we're going to be starting here on all four of our channels and a few other people as we incorporate other people. This is going to be a type of news podcast for gaming. Today, we're mostly going to be talking about Hearts of Iron 4, and we're going to be leading off our discussion with one mod that we all find particularly interesting or have really just enjoyed using. So let's start off here with Dave. What mod do you find
I
interesting?
hello. I'm Dave Feedback Gaming. My YouTube channel is Dave Feedback Gaming, and okay. So I'll
Where's that
start off
brand?
with
Yeah.
my I'll start off with my favorite mod. My favorite mod is I'm gonna go with one that's actually kind of a small one. It's only a small interface mod, but it's the one that's helped me out the most, and that is the better terrain view. It's super simple. All it really does is it gives you a simple terrain view to make you show the whole everything's a lot more visible and it's easy to see. Like if you're gonna get an advantage or a disadvantage in attacking. I don't know. I really loved it. It made my game a lot of big difference. And yeah, no, I really love that one.
All right, Seth.
Well, need I say any more? Of course, it's gonna be Millennium Dawn, considering that that's all I really work on as far as modding is concerned. Yeah, I mean, most of you, everyone has probably seen it already, but of course, bringing Hearts of Iron 4 to the modern day, it is there's been some challenges here and there, but I can tell it's gonna go places. The only place you can go up, and we're gonna go all the way up.
All right, Alex.
Well, I don't do that many mods. I've recently started playing a Scandinavian mod because somebody wanted me to do world conquest with Norway and Sweden and all that. So I said, okay, we'll do Scandinavia then. But I usually do just some cosmetic mods, and my favorite one I think is the more NATO counters mod, so I can get all my little counter needs met because I hate sprites.
I think a lot of people do. Yeah, I
Boo.
Boo.
Death to sprites.
they can be a
It's
little
for
difficult.
children. Little toys.
My favorite mod that I found particularly interesting is the military rations and provisions mod. I'm from the awkward guy, by the way. It essentially adds another thing that you can produce within your military industry of military rations. Basically, it makes you need to actually give food to your soldiers. I know, I was shocked too. I didn't know people needed food to eat or food to live. So but yeah, I found that particularly interesting because it just adds a whole new dynamic where you actually have to worry about feeding your soldiers rather than just arming them. And I
What's
think
that
that
one
would
called
be
again?
military rations and provisions. I'll leave a link to it
Oh.
in the
Yeah,
description.
Yeah, well,
say-
we
you-
should
I was
probably
gonna say
leave
you
links to all these.
Probably should leave a link as to say that.
Yeah, we'll have links in the description because these are all mods that really do improve the game. Now, the next topic that we're going to go on to is, and I'm sure a lot of people have some strong opinions on this, is AI. So, as I'm sure anybody who's played this game knows that the AI, they are not the smartest. They try. Sometimes they try. But they can be a little annoying sometimes. And I think right now we're going to discuss a few ways that the AI can be annoying and can be just a huge hindrance and what we think they would need to do to improve it. So, if anybody would like to lead this off here.
What does AI stand for again?
Artificial intelligence. Wait,
Does that have anything to do with what's going on in Hearts of Iron?
right?
Uh, the AI is woefully
It stands for
inadequate. Is
how?
that a? Yeah. No, I think the main
we
problem with
talk
the
about
AI is it has no idea how to prioritize fronts
Yes.
properly.
Has no concept of
Yeah.
supply.
Yeah.
It does not understand supply.
Yeah, the friendly AI is not only stupid but annoyingly stupid.
Well, yeah, I was just reporting another episode of my India series, and I had my AI sending 20, 30 divisions into an area where I barely had supply for my own troops, and it stopped my entire offensive because I did not have supply, and the enemy started
Not
pushing me back.
everybody's starving.
Like we had nothing, and they don't understand so many things. And I think-
can't.
At one point, I want to.
afford the- Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just one thing I was going to interject is I'd like to know kind of when you talk about AI, are you talking about specific AI as enemy opponents, or are you talking about specific AI as like kind of when you're making plans as such? You know, I
All
like
of
to
it.
make the kind of division between the two. All of it, right? Okay. I mean, the only
assistant
gripe-
So
AI?
we're focusing on allies, but a general concept of AI.
Yeah, what's it called? Is it called battle planning? There's actually a proper name for it, isn't there? I can't remember.
The battle plan. Yeah.
Yeah, the
battle-
battle plan.
Yeah, battle plans. Yeah, for the most part, I think battle plans for the most part are actually really, really, really damn good. I
love
think
them.
that was the big. Yeah, in comparison to like, I mean, I started Hearts of Iron with Hearts of Iron 2, and I jumped back into it. I got Awesome Democracy. I got it really cheap off Steam, and I was so gobsmacked at the fact that I have to move every individual unit by myself. It's like, what is this? It's the Stone Age.
Fun part.
It's not the fun part. Definitely not the
It
fun
is
I
though.
don't-
Oh.
And yeah, so
Sweet
I have
summer
to-
child.
I mean,
Jesus,
let's
that's
just talk about the
the point.
gripes though. The only gripes that I can think of that the AI for battle planning is sometimes it just seems to throw too many divisions at a front line. I know that you could always say, oh well, that's the player's fault because you've designated too many troops on one specific front. But then sometimes it'll push, it'll create a supply bottleneck, and then it'll just sit on it forever and a day. You know, it doesn't even push. It's like, oh, bottleneck there, so we're not going to move. Like, I told you to do offensive. I told you to attack. Then you've got to manually move the troops in, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it
That's
doesn't
my only
like
gripe
that,
with the
though.
battle plan.
They don't like that. They'll try to stop them from making their attack. They'll move them
Yeah.
somewhere else. They hate that.
They get the little yellow exclamation mark, which means that their destination has too low supply, so they don't want to move in there. Can I just
The yellow.
interject something about the battle planner AI? If we're talking about that specifically, now, I kind of jokingly say I like moving every single unit, but I actually mean that. I like that, but I also appreciate that I don't have to move every single unit. I really wish there was this sort of toggle function where I could say, okay, don't move unless told to, or
Yeah.
don't make an aggressive move
Right.
unless told to. But the one thing that really annoys me about the battle plan is that I like making pockets, which every Hearts of Iron player does. So I want to pierce the enemy line in 2 points, and then I want to link up behind, and then I want to reduce the pocket. In Hearts of Iron 3, the way you would do that is you would pierce the line, and then you would tell all your units to sort of pin down the enemy along the front. That would be a very normal thing to do. Just keep them pinned so you can move around and then create the pocket proper. Now, if I tell the battle AI to move, it will move and advance and try to push the enemy back as quickly as possible. I don't want you to do that, but I want you to pin him. So I really wish there was this setting where you could tell the AI, try to stop the enemy from moving along the front, but don't capture ground.
Fair. Yeah, I agree.
Well, you're forced
I think
to
the game.
send smaller amounts of divisions to do that. You have that option. You
Yeah.
just can't send enough divisions to win, but then you sacrifice manpower, you sacrifice supplies.
Yeah, that's not a good solution, is it?
It's
The game kind of expects you to kind of create two armies and kind of make the pierce, don't they? I think to a certain degree, the game can't babysit for you. It kind of expects you to divide armies into divisions and try and make a specific pincer. I mean, have you guys ever tried making
I
like
do that
three
though.
armies?
I do that.
Oh.
I create like an infantry army and then two panzer armies. And I did let's say I have three
I know
infantry
what you
armies
mean.
and two
I know what you
panzer
mean.
armies, and I would pierce with the panzer armies, and the infantry armies are expected to hold the ground and pin the enemy. They just start advancing, and as soon as the piercing starts, the AI will panic and start pulling back.
Are you doing that thing where you create like? Okay, this is a new issue. I remember you guys have experienced this. That when you create a front, for instance, like quote unquote pincer spearhead army, that when you make a narrow front, as it pushes, it makes the front bigger and bigger and bigger, and you don't have to do that. You
Oh,
can't.
and it sometimes deletes your other front lines. And it'll just delete your other front lines, and you have a whole 24 divisions just sitting way behind the line. It's like, what are you doing? Get up there, man! Like, I have
Manage
this
the
huge
front
gap.
lines.
Move over there.
Yeah, just managing the front lines on the eastern front and trying to keep our panzer armies together and infantry armies spread out and not lose their fronts and stuff. That is more challenging to wrestle with the user interface than it is to actually win Barbarossa.
It's true.
That's kind of a problem.
But don't you find it's almost just more effective just to create a huge front and push with a stronger, overwhelming force?
Yes.
It almost feels like the doctrine everyone seems to go for, not because they pick it, just because based on how they play it is superior firepower. You know what I mean?
Yes.
The fact that everyone
Yes.
creates a huge front and everyone just
Go with
pushes.
superior firepower, put heavy tanks in every infantry division, lots of artillery, spread it out and advance, I don't know, Napoleonic style. Just advance on the broad front and just walk to Moscow.
Personally, I just go for the mobile doctrine just because I try to fight the AI on it. I just try to fight them. I'm like, no, you will go here. So I go for the mobile doctrine just for the manpower at the end.
I don't mean
The
superior
wheelchair
fire.
rocket guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Volk stuff.
Hey, it's a lot of manpower. If you're a small country, that
Yeah,
really makes a
I
difference.
when I was playing as Macedonia in Millennium Dawn, that's what I took.
It can be extremely helpful.
I wasn't referring to superior firepower as a specific doctrine, just kind of the overall playstyle, because creating a vastly powerful army,
Right.
aka lots of soft attack, lots of hard attack, big, really big, fat, high production divisions, it tends to be what everyone seems to do, regardless of what strategy to go for anyway. Just one thing I wanted to interject, just something that was in the dev diaries of the one of the I'm not sure if you guys, do any of you guys follow the dev diaries?
Yeah.
Yep.
Time to time.
Yeah. One of the ones that was mentioned, not in the recent one, the one before it, is they said that they have acknowledged the fact that the AI prioritizes new supplies to divisions that they're making, not existing ones. And that's kind of what happens when you invade Barbarossa. You do look at the strength of the enemy Soviet troops, and you're like, hang on a minute, why this half-strength division? It's because the AI has some kind of wonky thought process of prioritizing everything towards new divisions and leaving what they've already got. And to be honest with you, if they fix that, that is going to make Barbarossa incredibly tougher, ignoring the fact that people are just going for this whole front thing, just the fact that they're actually going to supply the divisions to 100%.
I call bullshit on it, though. The reason why is I don't think the AI prioritizes building new divisions. I think the AI doesn't change the default priorities at all, which leaves new divisions on equal footing with reinforcing and upgrading existing divisions. I don't think the AI changes the priorities at all. I think they're kind of, it's kind of misleading to say, well, they're currently prioritizing building new divisions. I don't think they do.
I have to agree. I've seen the AI where they have no tanks, no infantry equipment, no artillery. I'm talking they're in the negatives by tens of thousands in artillery, yet they're trying to build another 40, and I'm not even exaggerating here, 40 artillery brigades.
Let me
They have no
interject.
artillery,
Let me
and they're still
interject
trying to
here.
build that instead of focusing on industry.
And this is from a modding perspective, is that everything in the game, all the units, everything has a literal, in the text file, a priority like number, and it literally determines, as far as I know, the order of operations in which they will make the unit based on priority. And so what it is that I imagine, however, whatever numbers they have used for building units, upgrading units, the supply which they send are probably incorrect. And as you see, a lot of the mods on the workshop that talk about AI rebalancing and such like that, what they're doing is they are changing the priority in the files to make it so that the AI does not make those decisions. So I don't know if it's necessarily BS, but yes, it may not hold exactly what you guys are thinking of.
Regardless of opinion, though, it's specifically Paradox. I've actually stated that in the dev diary. They actually state that there is an emphasis on prioritizing new divisions over existing ones, regardless of visually seeing the game. I guess there's one way of clearing it up, and maybe someone in the comments could clear this up, is has anyone actually mid-game decided to jump out of the save game and play as an AI? Has anyone actually done that?
Sometimes, just to check. Like if it's on
I've never
player,
done that.
just to check what they're doing.
One
issue
I've done that, and I've never seen the AI set the reinforce, upgrade, and produce. I've never seen those three settings switched. That's not to say the AI needs to switch those in order to facilitate it doing that, but it definitely looks like it's unchanged.
Yeah, but you're coming from a kind of a player perspective. The player doesn't kind of see the game as those specific buttons. Those buttons are very specifically designed for human play. So those buttons probably are null and void when an AI is controlling itself. No, it doesn't. No, but I'm not going off hearsay or anecdotes. I'm literally saying what Paradox has said.
Yeah, I think Paradox is misrepresenting it a little bit. But if Paradox delivers on their promise to make the AI prioritize frontline units over building new ones, then that will be great.
It'll be a whole new game. It honestly would be. That would change everything.
And that would probably bring... The interesting thing, though, is if they improve the actual enemy AI of this game, it's going to make the weaknesses of the Battlefront battle planner more apparent. And it's going to make life harder for the player, and it's fairly uncomfortable. Did we lose Seth?
What? No, I'm right here.
He's still with us. He's just being quiet.
Okay.
Yeah, I DC'd for a moment as well. I'm back.
I wasn't the one that's been lost.
Is there anything specific we can say the AI is doing wrong at the moment that we can pinpoint as well?
Well, and you guys
other
can
than what
hear
we've
me
already
fine,
covered?
correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
I can hear you
Okay,
great,
okay.
yeah, we're all
I got
good,
worried.
we're
I got
all
worried.
Yeah, me
It's
too,
the
me too.
Africa thing, but that's well documented. The
Yeah,
Yeah.
multiple fronts. Yeah, it
it's
seems to get worse
and
the more fronts they have, doesn't it?
Of course.
yeah, you can confuse. Yeah, it doesn't pull away from the Maginot Line and the front line quite as much in the new patch as it did in vanilla or in unpatched, but there is definitely. I think the most annoying part of the AI though is the friendly AI swamping your own front line with troops and just
Oh,
destroying
yeah.
any chance you have of advancing.
Oh yeah.
It deters faction play, doesn't it?
Right?
Yep. It promotes solo play. It deters puppets. It deters alliances. It just go solo and you'll do a lot better.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that are asking me saying, why don't you ever puppet? Why don't you ever try to join factions? And I
It's
finally
useless.
did it, and the second I did it, the AI floods my front lines, and I just
Yeah,
can't do anything.
It's
I'm like,
useless.
this is why. There's not a
Puppets are
need
not
for
much
it.
of a Puppets are not as much as a problem because they just tend to just give you all their troops anyway. They don't seem to manually put troops on the front line. They're always just have all my
True.
divisions.
You
have
do
them.
have more control over puppets. Like we could in
Yep.
the multiplayer series we did last, Alex, you had Germany as a puppet. It
Yep.
can be used. Puppets, I think, can be used, but allies, factions, unless you're
Allies can-
multiplayer, it can be such a
Well,
hindrance.
think about Spain and Greece. They actually did pretty well in their series.
Yeah, yeah, true. But they
Think-
didn't get involved. But that's because we brought them in pretty much when they weren't fighting on the mainland. Their troops never really fought on the mainland. They just kind of chilled in their own countries and gave us volunteers.
Let's put it
Tell you
like
what,
this:
though.
allies are good if you can manipulate the way the AI decides to help.
Yeah.
And if you're Finland trying to fight Russia, Germany will flood your front line and starve your units. If you're India trying to fight Japan and Russia, England will just flood your front line and starve your troops. So
I think
it all
I think
depends where you're fighting and who your allies are.
Another point to put on top there, it's not necessarily a problem that they cause supply bottlenecks. It's the fact that they cause supply bottlenecks and then they just sit there.
Yeah.
They don't because one of the penalties you get for supply is not controlling all provinces within a state. So surely, great, you've got supply problems. So push further into the state. Then no, I'm just going to sit here, on the line, and take attrition. Like what?
And
Well-
you can't tell your allies to build infrastructure. And the
Yes.
Oh.
AI never
Oh,
builds
God.
infrastructure.
And I
What's
don't
that
get-
Japanese puppet called? What's that Japanese puppet
What?
called?
Manchukuo?
Manchukuo.
Oh, I
Oh God!
You meant-
the road, please don't road.
you meant literal. Okay, you meant puppet. I thought we were talking about literal puppets here. And it's like, what does this have to do with anything? I was like,
I know,
what is
but-
that one Japanese puppet called? I don't know. Look it up yourself. I have no clue what you're talking about. Anyway,
I don't get your own units, the little exclamation mark. They're so sensitive. They're like, nope, we will not go in. There is not enough supply. We're staying right here. But your allies, let's do it, guys. We're just gonna go in there. We're gonna have some fun. And then your own
I
troops are just
think-
like, nope.
I get the
Go
suspicion
hungry,
that
go
that
hungry.
yellow exclamation mark. I think that yellow exclamation mark is part of some bright soul at Paradox going, we need some sort of mechanic to stop the AI from flooding units. I know, I'll do a little check, and then if I find out they can't do it, I'll warn the player with a little yellow exclamation mark, I'll cancel a move order, and the player will do it manually. And then he told the AI guy, hey dude, you should probably put this in the normal AI too, and he went, huh? And he took
No.
lunch.
That's the thing, though, because the AI is just like, let's go in and do it. No,
I-
just
like I
on
said,
the
the wiring is there. It's just not hooked up to the AI.
I
It's
agree.
just there
I
in the-
agree.
Yep.
So
So-
I think in future, if we're going to interject kind of what needs to change, I think there needs to be some kind of system that if you, I mean, this is not going to apply so much if you're not the leader of the faction, but if you are the leader of the faction, you get to say the lesser members what their priorities should be. And very similar to the way that, like in European Universalis 4, where you can set a priority, like a stance for your AI opponents. It's not a lot, because apparently in the new EU4, hint, they're adding a new system where you have more strategic options for vassals. Well, let's say that even if the basic options like defensive, completely passive, or aggressive would be awesome for HU4. But one other thing to know as well, Hungary makes some great garrisons for France. I'll give them that.
Oh, I remember
That's
Hungary in the Russia series building 70 divisions. God, I don't know where they got the supplies for that one.
I think
They're
if
always
you-
escaping the battle, aren't they?
Just like 70, we're gonna build 70. We have like 5 people left in the army, but we're gonna have 70 divisions.
Damn straight.
Like, oh, you
They're
have
filled
to
with
do
mice. But if you could only the same way you can tell the AI general to for a theater, you can tell or for an army, you can say passive, medium, or aggressive. If there was a setting there for yes AI, please help out on this front line. No AI, I'm fine. Go away, please, on this front line.
Also, yes,
That would be-
AI, please make it hard for me. Wait, that's already a setting.
That's the default setting.
Yeah, exactly.
I wish it was simple as that, but it's almost like everything we've talked about just now. It's a combination of things, isn't it? Because I think the biggest deal so far is I don't know if you guys if you played Hearts of Iron 2, but when I played Hearts of Iron 2 and I played as Germany, it was so hard to do Barbarossa. It was hella hard. You'd always try and try this situation of somehow exploiting France and taking them in 1939, and then doing this really really early Barbarossa, but it still never actually worked. And I want that same challenge back, part and parcel of a lot of things we've mentioned right now. That's what's going to make the game harder, not this super freaking hard setting that they're planning to make. Have you guys seen that in the Dev Diary? That they're planning to have a scaling system based on AI, and it's literally giving the AI cheats.
Well, I
Yeah,
mean, that's how
it's just
Civilization
adding-
does it.
Oh
Let's be
no.
real here. Also,
Oh.
okay, on a side note, on something that talking about HOE 3, something that I think they need to bring back desperately is they need to bring back scenarios. Like seriously,
Yes, I love scenarios.
Like-
Those were the best.
like that. I mean, of
Spanish
course,
Civil War.
That
of course,
one was
they're just gonna
awesome.
sell it as
That-
DLC, I'm
yeah.
sure. But I
I'd
mean,
pay DLC. I would pay for a DLC for
no,
that.
don't tell
I
them
would.
that. Don't tell them that.
Oh, they're gonna do it regardless of what I say. I'd pay for it.
Yes, yes.
As YouTubers, they're kind of a one watch thing, aren't they? There, if you think about it, when you've seen it once, do you need to see it again? You know, and there's going to be like at least 100 YouTubers that are going to drill out the I don't know, the Operation Sea Lion scenario. You know, and once they've seen it, that's pretty much done and dusted, isn't it?
I wouldn't record a scenario, but I just love playing
Yeah.
them on my own.
You can
I
just
always
play it.
love just trying
Oh,
to find different creative ways to win without needing to go through the whole portion of building up my army. Right? It's just fun to
really
get right into
depends.
the action.
It would depend on how much room there is for optimization and different strategies in a scenario, and also on the randomness of it. I remember the Civil War scenario in the Spanish Civil War scenario in Hearts of Iron 3 was a bit random, where you would get different troops would go to different sides by some sort of throw of the dice, which meant that every playthrough was slightly different. So.
Is
But-
it ever good for multiplayer?
I have never tried Hearts of Iron 3.
Oh,
I could never get multiplayer to work
I thought the
in Hearts
fact-
of Iron 3.
yeah. I always thought it'd be kind of cool with the scenario because it kind of makes things super balanced. You know, there's no area of discussion. It's always it gives one to one side, one to another. You know, there's not an area of grey area of like, well, you won because you had more manpower. Oh, you had one because you had more production. You're like, oh, okay, it's fair then.
Fair enough.
Maybe.
Like
But we'll
set
see.
conditions, set conditions.
I'm pretty sure scenarios are part of the DLC plan. I'm also pretty sure that different starting dates are part of the DLC plan.
Yeah.
Yeah, can we talk about the Field Marshal edition? Because some of the bonuses didn't actually make a lot of sense to me. Because we all understood the soundtracks, the extra little bits and models and whatnot, but he also mentioned expansion pack 1.
Yeah.
Were you all aware of this? What does anyone have any idea what that means? Because it's so generic, you know?
That's
I
why
got
I
it,
bought
but-
the Field Marshal thing, I think.
Yeah,
I
same.
want this generic named expansion.
Like, what is it gonna be? Is it gonna be like a scenario pack or something? Because like, if it's just like sprites, I'm gonna be a little
Oh, I'm so
like
annoyed.
well, it says expansion though. An expansion should be gameplay, not visuals
Yeah.
or audio.
I'm
I want
pretty
to say
sure it's
if
DLCs.
I'm wondering if
well,
it's
that's
gonna
it.
be them trying to pack in what you remember
Hmm.
East versus West. They canceled that like a couple months ago or however long ago.
Right.
I'm wondering if they're gonna try to add like whatever they had there
Oh no.
as another start time. In Hearts
No,
of
no,
Iron
no,
4.
no. That.
I don't think they're gonna do it, but I think it would be interesting.
What was the start time?
Why
there?
did they cancel? Yeah,
Uh,
can we
it
talk
was-
about
it
East
was-
versus West just for a brief moment?
Yeah, it was a problem with the studios and Paradox, like the publisher, because I mean the development team had nothing to do with it. I mean they're under the publisher as far as I know, but basically it
was
was
it an
just a
expansion? Was
no,
it,
no, no. It was so.
mod?
Do you guys know Darkest Hour, right? For Hearts of
Yep.
Iron 2. It's
Yep.
basically the same idea for Hearts of Iron 3. It's a standalone game based off of the same engine of Hearts of Iron 3 that was supposed to be in the gap between Hearts of Iron 3 and Hearts of Iron 4, and it was going to be a Cold War scenario, and it just got canceled because of a disagreement between the publisher and what was going on with the developer, because the developer that was making uh, what is it? East versus West is not related to Paradox besides the deal they had.
Kind of like Arsenal Democracy, that was similar, wasn't it, as well? That was an
Exactly.
independent
Exactly.
kind of modders turned developers, yeah.
Yes, and there's another one too. There's the secret weapons of the Wehrmacht or something like that, which was a DLC for Hearts of Iron 3 that ended up not being supported because it was basically a paid mod, and the modder didn't get paid to maintain it. So when the game got patched, the DLC never got patched. So it's basically a dead DLC.
Can this is I'm drifting
There's
away
been a
here,
lot of
but
that in Paradox.
yeah, I got to give them that, because I mean it's kind of cool that they're bringing in kind of it's almost a similar era of gaming. You know, like when Valve started to like involve modders in their engine as well,
Yep.
because Counter-Strike started out as a mod and then it became this full thing, and now it's even bigger than Half-Life is, and it's kind of cool because
Team
that
Fortress
same
too,
era is
isn't
kind of where
Was it?
I think Team Fortress was in-house, I think. I'm not sure. Anyway, it was the same kind of era when that was happening, and I guess it's kind of cool that Paradox was in on that as well. I think what I wanted to drift onto, I'm sorry this is kind of drifting away from the main issue. We're not talking about AA anymore, but I feel like Cold War is just not as a colourful scenario as World War II, but people
It's
seem
been
to be really
done
up
so
for
many
it.
times.
Yes,
Well,
because
with-
World
with
War
the
II was a
mods, though.
colorful scenario.
Oh.
Well, that's what I mean, because World War II has a lot of borders changing dramatically over the periods of times. It has nations
True.
getting invaded and then returning borders. Because if you let's compare World War One to World War Two, World War Two has a lot of changes, different colors of the map. World War One has borders that move and then they're virtually static. You know what I mean? There's not this kind of sway of back and forth you get. Yeah, but it wasn't a sway. It was coring the map Germany and then end of the war. You know, there wasn't this kind of sway back and forth what Germany has. I don't know. I feel like no one kind of shares his opinion with me. People constantly give up these sides. Oh, it looks great. I'd love to see a World War One. I would love to see a Cold War. I'd love to see Vietnam. And I'm thinking to myself, that would be so incredibly boring.
Well,
I
the
think
biggest.
I think you're spot on with the World War II being a very dramatic conflict
Oh yeah.
compared to the other ones.
Well, with the
My
Cold War, the
all-time
thing is,
favorite
there's
war.
already mods out there. I feel like if they were to release it, it's kind of like, okay, I've already kind of played this. They'd have to do something very different.
You're trying to
I think.
tell
You haven't
me
played World
that
War
you would
II yet?
rather play a modded, like, different game than an official release?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I would still play it. I'm just saying it's not gonna have the same hype it would have had as if there wasn't the mod. Because the fact is, there is already a mod out for that now, so people have already gotten a taste. For me, I'd be more excited for a
disagree.
Cold War standalone if there wasn't already the mod.
I disagree.
That's my opinion.
Why do you disagree?
You see, I just personally think that, I mean, like, there was already mods for, I mean, okay, sure, Hearts of Iron 4 may have a mod for Cold War, but there was already mods out before East and West came out. And you know when East and West got released, how many people were just absolutely going buck wild for it? They were so hyped for it, so much so that, like, even though the game was unfinished, once it leaked, people still play it, and people actually made mods for it so that it worked and wouldn't crash. Like, there's a playable version of East versus West. May not have all the features in there, but that is indicative in of itself of the kind of hype it garnered.
That is true. But I think the other issue is this wouldn't be a standalone. This would be an expansion, right? So I still think they'd have to do something different to it to make it engaging. Because
Didn't
East
they
versus West.
extend the
Go ahead.
timeline in Hearts of Iron 3 to like 1955 or something?
First scenario. It was
Look,
only
I
for
think
the
the only
scenario.
The only time I can see a Cold War scenario working as a kind of a grand strategy game would be in some. I know this might seem kind of weird to think of it initially, but Victoria 2, because think about it, the Cold War isn't a war, really, is it? It's a war of wars, you know, and it doesn't have that essence of front line and swaying back and forth. So it's almost like it's almost like the Cold War is just a diplomacy room, almost, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Well,
That's all it is.
I
It's
actually
not.
really agree with you for that. I'd like to see, maybe not, obviously not on Victoria 2
Yeah.
engine, but more of the whole balancing your economy focus and more focus on your industry, your economy, your population. Because that was Victoria 2. It had wars, but it had such a focus on trade, on your economy. It had more of a government focus than a military focus. And I'd like to see
Yet
that for
again,
Cold War.
yeah, and yet again, I think that worked really well in Victoria too. I don't know about Paradox, but one thing they do incredibly well is they pinpoint areas of history that just are so incredibly good. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
the scenario of EU4, the scenario of Halfordshire Hearts of Iron and Victoria 2, those areas of history are just so perfect for the kind of game mechanics they introduced. It absolutely is genius. I don't even know how they grasp that concept.
Okay.
Because anyway, back to what I said before. Yeah, the whole Cold War thing. Yeah, I don't see how that's ever going to work in this game other than I don't let's just let's just imagine Paradox think of some miracle idea behind it. I don't know.
Well, let me bring this back to a problem that I believe is kind of intrinsic, and I've had this thought this whole time that I've been working on Millennium Dawn, is that honestly, Hearts of Iron 4 is actually not the best game to really do a modern day mod with, because the central concept, yeah, right, the
Oh my
central
God, what is he
concept
saying?
the central
What is he saying?
concept for modern day is not in an entire war, but the central concept for Hearts of Iron 4 is that there is going to be one war, and it's going to involve the entire war. It's centered around World War II, and it is a game made for World War II's concepts. When you try to bring it into the modern day, where, in all honesty, this has been the most peaceful time in human history, it really
Yep.
doesn't model as well. And you see, I've played the absolute hell out of Victoria 2's modern day mod. And Victoria 2, okay, see, I have a problem with Victoria 2 where the combat system, I hate the combat system in Victoria 2. In Hearts of Iron 4's combat
There's a
system,
combat
Agreed.
system in Victoria too.
exactly.
Yeah. It's a sideline, isn't it?
It's
not the main part of
literally
the game, is it?
it's just
Yeah.
it's closer to Risk than it is even anything else really.
I
And
agree with you there. That is definitely true.
And-
It's so randomized.
the problem is that but however, the population system and the political system, it's able to model the modern world so much better. Like, we at least have political decisions, like events that we can do in Victoria 2, but in the modern day mod, you can't, you don't even have political decisions, so you have to either have events that you can't see, so you don't even know if you're going to be able to do events. You just have to let the player, like, oh, here, you got some random goals that you didn't even know about, and here's this event to, I don't know, do whatever. Or you have a focus tree, but then to make a focus tree, it doesn't work quite the same way as like political decisions, unless you just have a focus tree that's not connected, and you just have requirements everywhere for different ones, and they're not connected, which even that doesn't seem to be the best solution. But
More like decisions.
yeah, exactly. Like, you almost need that to really be able to do something. Like, for example, everybody wants to create like the European Union or, a union state. But the problem is that you either, like in Victoria 2, EU4, all that, it is made by doing a decision. Whereas in Hearts of Iron 4, you don't have that. You have the focus tree maybe, but like I was saying, that's not really the greatest way to fix that problem.
No, I think you're right, and also simulating unless you're doing a specific World War III mod
Exactly. That's what I
or
thought.
scenario, then modern warfare is pretty boring from a grand strategy standpoint, because the conflicts are so one-sided. There are, with a few notable exceptions, World War II was the last sort of interesting conflict from a grand strategy perspective, in my opinion, because things, at least from the perception of the people participating in it, it was up in the air. It could go anyway. Hindsight being what it is, people can discuss whether or not Germany had any theoretical chance of winning the war, or if something could have happened to change the course of the war. But at least from the standpoint of the soldiers fighting and the civilians being bombed, it looked like anyone could win. It was anyone's battle. Modern combat, not so much. It goes more towards political will to keep bombing, or whether or not you define something as a war, or it's a police action. We have a UN mandate to go in and do something strange here. And it's never a question of winning or losing. It's sort of achieving weird political goals or not achieving them, I guess.
I guess the only kind of system that I could imagine it would work is some kind of system of great powers, you know, and an issue where these great powers are not competing to control the world, they're kind of competing around a diplomacy table, because that's how kind of the modern world is. It's like with the G8
Cold War
and whatnot. That's what I mean. But they could merge those diplomacy aspects and also merge the kind of war theater of Hearts of Iron, and that's kind of where the nice balance would be.
But how would you make World War III scenario is sort of, well, would that just end in nukes? And
That is true. That's something you have to definitely consider in that.
You
Because
could
the AI won't
surely
use nukes in Hearts of Iron 4. They never use nukes.
Okay.
I've never once had me nuked by AI.
See, before I started, well, actually, when I was first started working on Millennium Dawn, I actually, right, so I had my China series, which most of you probably didn't watch, but that's fine. And the interesting thing in the China
you're
series,
not bitter or anything.
no, I don't actually care, but
I'm just gonna go pull that open on a separate tab.
so anyway, it was a
very
Democratic China series, and I played it using a mod. Anyway, it was a lot of fun, and I had a really interesting scenario. So basically, we win World War II, and the whole world is democratic. But of course, since there were some like requirements that weren't met, the UK was able to people messing me on Steam. I thought I turned that off. The UK was able to use one of their focuses to go to war with Germany, and Germany was in my faction. They joined my faction at the end of the war. So after World War II, I basically had a sort of Operation Unthinkable, except we were both allies on each side. So at the end of the war, I controlled almost the whole world because it was me, just China, and Germany. Germany died instantly because they didn't have any troops, because it was literally right after the war began. And I ended up taking over the whole world. And after that, I was like, wow, this is a really interesting scenario. So I actually stopped working on Millennium Dawn for a while, and I was like, okay, maybe I should like make a mod out of this, okay? That's still basically modern day, right? You could have it take place in modern day with modern day everything, and basically just restore all the borders. And I don't know, you could find some story. I made up like a story about, you know, how China, instead of like an American-led century, because, you know, they say that the around the Cold War was the American century. Instead, you have sort of a Chinese century, a Sino-centric century, where they hold the power. But eventually, a sort of United Nations breaks down. And the key factor for the alliance not being upheld is the fact that there are no nukes. Because if you look back, say, at like the Indian-Chinese conflicts, right? In like the 70s and I think maybe the 80s. I don't quite remember the dates. Maybe it's the 90s. I don't know. Those were real full conventional warfare, and the only thing that really stopped them from going all out is because each side had nuclear weapons, right? And so in a sense, if the world didn't have nuclear weapons, I am sure we would have already have had a World War III scenario, just without a doubt.
So it's all. So I guess you've got to kind of paint the world as kind of a fan fiction, haven't you, to kind of create the scenario that you
right,
want, haven't
exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's
Oh.
like the only way you could really stage a World War III without nukes that was a conventional warfare like World War II is you have to create yourself a scenario where there were no nukes to begin with. Because otherwise...
Oppenheimer.
Well, that's possible. With the whole push now to disarm, you could have some kind of major event where countries finally take the step and disarm, and then some massive political or economical crash or whatever that basic scenario for World War III, world runs out of oil, whatever, happens, and then you can actually have that kind of war without the threat of nukes. Because the fact is, people are
I think
pushing
the
for
problem
disarmament.
with a fantasy scenario like that is putting the nuclear genie back in the bottle. Even if all the major nuclear powers decide to scrap 99% of their a stockpile tomorrow. As soon as things start heating
They
up
build
again,
up
it
again.
would probably
Yeah,
be
exactly.
cheaper to build nukes than tanks.
Cold War
That is
Port Part 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Well, that's why there's not many modern games out there with this kind of grand strategy scenario, because you can do it in an RTS sense. That makes sense because you're not focusing on the grand scale, but with grand strategy, a modern setting is
Exactly.
so much more difficult and so much more complex. And in most of the cases where there is a modern scenario, declaring war is incredibly difficult and you get
To
punished.
quote a
You
certain
get
famous
punished.
YouTuber, where is the core gameplay loop? What are you going to be doing in a
What is
World
your
War in
core
a
message?
yeah
What is your core message?
Stay on message. Stay on message. No, but what are you going to be doing in a modern day scenario? What's going to be the sort of bread and butter of your game? What's the player going to be trying to achieve? And Paradox games, to their credit, have always been kind of vague about that whole thing. It's sort of, you do whatever you want to do. Here's a bunch of toys and go play with them. Crusader Kings and European Universalis are extremely sort of just do whatever you want. Hearts of Iron is slightly more focused in that unless you do something very weird, World War II will trigger. So you're gonna have to fight that. But
I think we've drifted. Sorry, I just don't mean to interrupt, but we have drifted very, very far away from AI.
Well, I mean
Oh.
that's natural
Well,
though.
technically, we've actually already drifted on to a couple other topics
Yeah, so
that
I'm
we
not
discussed,
worried
which
about
is
that.
modding and the potential, like the
are you
future of the
implying we
game.
have
So
prepared
let's-
topics for this?
Yes, I am implying that.
So if that's the case, then
Hashtag
if we're talking
it's
about the
conspiracy.
dream mod, let's talk about the dream feature. What would you guys like to see Paradox add to Hearts of Iron 4 Vanilla to enhance the game? What would you like to see that expansion pack 1 actually become?
Proper supplies.
That's
Well,
gonna be a
let's
patch.
talk
We don't
about
need a
new
mod.
features. You know.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah.
I mean as a feature. I mean as a deeper feature. I want a logistics DLC.
Okay, fair
I
enough.
want the ability to produce
Yeah.
fuel, to produce ammunition, to produce food, produce uniforms, move that to the front, and make sure my troops are fed and clothed and will have
And
bullets for their guns.
if you were to actually create an on-land supply line, like
Yep.
you actually have to say, this is the line I want them to take. I need to
Or a shipping
create
lane.
specific or a shipping lane, which they had kind of. They still have that in Hearts of Iron 4, but it's really
And they
not
had it in Hearts of Iron
complex.
3. I
They
want
did
that
have it
back.
in Hearts of Iron 3. That was awesome because you'd actually have to worry about creating escorts. If you didn't have escorts, then you'd get in this spiral. All your ships are being destroyed, so you can't make more escorts. But then you
And-
just have to find another way to get the supplies.
This is
Okay,
a
so-
point in between the AI and the engine limitations and mods, because right now, out of the 4 different kind of convoys there are in the game, only 2 of them can be intercepted. The 2 others are immortal, and that's a huge problem when it comes to how easy it is to do Sea Lion, how easy it is to invade the Americas, how easy it is to invade the islands of the Pacific. It's a huge problem in my opinion, and it makes the game not very World War II-ish.
It's kind of an issue of the fact that when you do sync a convoy, you have absolutely no idea what was in it. That's a big issue for me. If they're going to add any kind of feature that's so small, surely there should be some kind of intelligence report after when the battle's ended
Like
to
you
give
can
you some kind of
target certain
inkling.
supply lines.
It's one of 2
No,
things.
no, no. I mean, like on the battle summary screen, when you've sunk a convoy and you click on the actual battle summary and you actually see that 4 convoys were sunk. When I hover my icon over that, I want to see what was in those convoys to give me an indication of what I was hitting. Was I hitting a transport convoy with actual divisions? Was I hitting metal convoy imports?
That's
or
what I mean,
exports?
though,
No,
because then you could target certain supply convoys. If you know your enemy is heavily reliant on metal, which it's not that hard to figure out, if you look at their units and their resources, you could say, well, it seems they're primarily shipping metal along these supply lines, so I can target that, forcing the enemy to make a similar reaction to defend those supply lines.
Yep.
It's an action and a response.
No,
That's-
proper sea lanes with proper wolf packs and U-boats hunting for ships and proper escorts. That's a big thing for me. And getting proper supply lines on land with proper supplies being transported on land. I really, really hope they're going to make a logistics DLC. And then the people who don't
I
like
don't-
it can turn it off or not use it. That's fine.
Well, that's a good point because I think that's interesting because there is a theme of Paradox where they introduce new expansion, and they tend to bloat their game. And you've noticed that, Alex, as well with Crusader Kings 2 and the kind of the
Yes.
backlash against the new, and there is a tendency
Europa
that,
Universalis is a good example too.
yeah, do you know what? I actually downloaded the last 2 expansions and I loaded up the other day, and I was really shocked for the fact that how just simple things are kind of very complex now. I can't just fabricate what I need to send spy. I need to have a spy network into the name.
Yep.
Like what? Like, are you actually enhancing the game there, or are you just kind of putting up more walls? Because that could be the issue. They could put up more walls in Hearts of Iron 4, and to be fair, is that enhancing the game, or is that
Yes.
kind of
Yes.
just
For Hearts of Iron
will that
4, yes.
Yes.
Because Hearts of Iron 4 is
People
streamlined.
need
Europa
slopes.
Universalis at start was
Yeah.
complicated enough. At start, it had enough of a learning curve. You don't need to
Are we
make
the-
that more complicated. Hearts of Iron 4 is so
we the right
streamlined, it
people?
needs more complexity.
Are we
Yeah,
the
I
right
think-
people to say that though? Because
No.
we kind of very familiar with the previous Hearts of Iron games, aren't we? So when
We
we
are
dive into
entirely
Hearts
the
of
wrong
Iron
people.
4,
Well, then you run into a
Yeah,
whole separate argument. You run into entirely separate arguments, which is the priority. New players that are trying to get into the game, or players that already know how to play the game. The way to
It's-
you should
Oh.
maybe have almost like 2 versions of the game: a more simplified version and a more complex version.
Allow
that
me
would-
to check.
That would be, of
Because-
course, impossible to develop, but
Hearts Iron 3 had arcade supplies on or off. You could turn off the supply requirement in Hearts of Iron 3 as a standard setting in the game.
yeah.
And Crusader Kings 2, with the latest patch, you are allowed to customize your game experience. You can now turn on and off a myriad of different settings in the game. Everything from shattered retreating to females holding titles to everything is now customizable. And I think that is the future of Paradox games. And you see them doing that in
love that.
different
I
questionnaires.
would love that in Hearts of Iron.
Yeah, so they're gonna do that in Hearts of Iron 3 and 4. I'm 90% sure that you're gonna see a much more diversified setup screen where you can see, okay, I want to play with this and this and this, but not that and that and that. Just like the old air flight simulators back in the 90s and early 2000s, where you could turn on and off like 20 different settings for flaps or weather or slippery runways or unlimited ammunition and all that sort of thing.
Okay, I feel like I'm going to quote now. Yeah, I'm almost interjecting opinions that aren't my own. They're stolen, they're secondhand ones, and these are our Total Biscuits perspective on difficulty. I guess I'm opposed to a scaling difficulty. I'm opposed to it. I feel like there should be a standard mode that should be easy, then get challenging as it gets to the game. There should be a hard mode for someone who's already completed normal, and then there should be a custom for maybe what you're just describing there, to your own specific flavor, to your specific taste. I don't like this idea of jumping into a game and I'm bombarded with these a vast number of scalable options and scales. There needs to be a standard, there needs to be a hard, and there needs to have a custom. Otherwise, I feel like you are alienating. You are doing exactly what you just said before. You are alienating that person who wants a more simplified game and just wants to hit that normal button, go.
Well, that can happen too. You can have a default number of settings. You just click the default box and you get a random amount of settings that is more easy for a new player. Because somebody that's already experienced is going to take the time to go through all of those settings and choose what they want. Somebody that's new just says, I'll hit the default button and go from there. And it's not that hard to add a default button.
Somebody
and just
who's new
pick a few.
to a grand strategy game should click the beginner button.
Yeah.
I think the issue that I find is that it becomes very black and white, and the more you custom features you add, the more gray the whole what normal mode is, quote unquote normal mode.
It's true.
And I hate this concept of loading a playthrough on YouTube and then having to beg the question, like, what settings is this guy using? You know, is he doing really well because he's put it on Uber Scooby noob mode, or is he insanely good? And I just don't know. You know, I don't like that, and I don't think you're enhancing the game when you're adding more sliders. That's my point. I'm preaching to the choir. Yeah.
Well, it's a complicated issue in my opinion, but I see your point. I think there should be default settings for the game, and then I like the idea of customizing your difficulty.
That's where I'm with you.
Yeah, they might have made a mistake in Crusader Kings 2 in that when you start a new game, you're always presented with the screen, but you don't have to actually do anything to the screen. You just click whatever and move along. But when it comes to YouTubers and watching people on YouTube, I watched I think it was a Roomba was doing a Black Plague Let's Play, and he switched two settings and then he started playing. And I mean, that's what I would do too. I would start by showing people my setup screen and see, this is how I'm going to play the game, and this is our settings, and this is why I think this will be challenging, and this is how I think it might be easy, and then go. And but mostly, whenever I'm looking at Let's Plays, I want to see standard or hard difficulty, and I want to see Iron Man mode, or Bronze Man with honor system, something like that, depending on crashes and stuff like that. And then I want to see people get their ass handed to them. But
I'm not the target audience. I'm not the target audience, but I think there might be a good third group there of someone who likes to see something wacky and unusual and unexpected as well.
That's another.
Again, I'm self-promoting myself. It's a self-promotion. Oh, glorious self-promotion. But I did a Democratic Germany one, and I said myself when I started the game that I would be a pacifist. I would only attack as kind of a defender. I would defend. And obviously, as the game went on, it became less viable to do that because World War happens. Regardless if Germany starts it or not, it happens. The events in the game kind of make wars happen and world tension skyrockets and whatnot. But it created this really wonky scenario where the world was separated into these three factions. There was the Allies, there were this German faction that I created, then there was this French faction as well. And it was so wacky and unusual. People really loved it. And did you know what? The game reflected none of my skill. None. I barely even played that game. I feel like I was a spectator. The fact that I was just clicking. You know what I mean? It wasn't challenge, but people loved it. People said it was just wacky, this is fun, I want more of it. So there's something out there not only for the challenging player or the casual, but there's also something out there who wants to see this story, this role play, this
that's
wacky
what you call
scenario.
emergent gameplay, isn't it?
Subscribe to my channel to see more wacky gameplay.
Yes,
Link
link down
in
below.
description.
Yes. And where can they buy your shirts, Dave?
Yeah, would you like
Yeah.
to give them that link too?
Big lightning bolt on your chest.
Big lightning bolt. That's not copyrighted at all, is it?
You can get mugs with my face on it as well, and keychains, little cute keychains, and wedding rings as well.
And also,
Wedding
anybody
rings,
who wants
nice.
to see face cams for these other guys, let us know in the description down below, because we had a
I'm not
big
doing it. I'm not
out.
doing it. I'm not doing it.
Face reveal. Facebook FIBA releases his face.
Go to that awkward guy and downvote his videos until he puts on a face cam. Just download everything.
Oh,
he
downvote.
does.
I thought I said download. Download his videos. It's like, oh,
We're
that's
doxing
don't
you right
tell
now.
them
We're
to
gonna
do
find
that.
his face.
Then I will just quit YouTube. I don't care. I will put my time into other things.
Okay, I think we've
You
got
don't
time for
have
one more
anything else to
topic.
put it into.
I actually
got
do
one
though.
more
That's the
topic.
thing. I barely been squeezing in enough time to record
You
videos
lie.
lately. I'm so busy.
Anyway,
it-
we're moving on.
Is there
Alex,
one
we're
last
moving
favorite
on.
topic? Someone
Um,
so is there one last topic? What favorite of yours you want to interject as a final finale?
Well, pretty much the last main thing I think we can really talk about is where do we think Hearts of Iron 4 stands in terms of multiplayer, and how does it compare to past games, and what would you like to see different?
Okay, so I think I'll interject my dev diary experiences because I feel like I study them like I'm cracking the enigma or something. But there was a note on one of the dev diaries that they're going to introduce full hot seating. Okay, so if anyone doesn't actually know, right now you can only host a game and join it from the very start, or from a save game point from the very start as a brand new host. So hot seating will give the feature so people can actually jump into the game mid-session. So if someone wants to disconnect, which happens all the time, which is so freaking frustrating, you can have the ability to jump in mid-game and just rejoin from that point on there on. Or if you wanted to, leave that player out and continue as an AI, whatever you feel like. And to that point, when I heard about that, I was like, I just want to hold back. I don't want to play multiplayer. But then I found Alex and I fell in love, and then we made sweet love.
Nice.
Oh god. Okay.
No, go on. Sorry. If you want to continue
Transatlantic
about
love.
the
Well, I agree with you on the hot seat thing, because how many times in our own multiplayer series have we just one person disconnects and we have to restart the entire game?
It
And it's
wasn't
just-
that bad, to be honest.
That
We
one
had
day,
one
though.
session-
That one
yeah, we
day.
had one session where everything was screwy.
Where I
But
just stopped editing things. Like, I'm not editing
everyone
this.
to call the-
I think everybody lost an episode or so. That's how
Oh,
it was.
yes,
Half
yes.
of one episode.
Uh,
Yeah, Seth, you lost a few, didn't you?
yeah, we don't talk about it.
We
don't talk about
it. It's not something we speak about here. We don't speak about these things. I don't want to talk about it.
Quiet. No, but I think the stability of Hearts of Iron 4 compared to other Paradox releases has been absolutely stellar when it comes to multiplayer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Crafting
Compared
is
to
working.
other.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've done a great job there. I appreciate because we can sort of we can hate the AI as much as we want, but the fact is we've played this game for way too long to say we don't like it.
Of course.
I
And
love the game. That's the thing.
yeah, and it's stable. I think I've had like one crash through 600 or something hours of gameplay, so it's a stable game. And but what was the question again? You had some sort of what would we like to for multiplayer? What would we like to see? Or
Yeah, is there any changes within multiplayer that you'd like to see? Anything added or any new features that they could possibly incorporate in multiplayer?
I feel like it needs some kind of randomization. If we want to play it kind of competitively of player versus player, I think there's going to be something that gives a random feel to kind of let players dive in and to a stage where it's like if you're playing as the Soviet Union, you don't feel like you've got this crazy advantage because of insane resources, insane production, insane divisions, manpower and whatnot.
are you
It feels like
implying that the Soviet Union is overpowered just because we're about to do multiplayer where I am the Soviet Union?
Of course.
no, and actually, well,
Certainly
who
felt-
really.
Huh?
Shh. It's a secret. People can't know.
Spoilers.
People
No,
can't know.
no. We need to promote the hell out of this thing.
We do. Maybe we can put that as a little plug at the end of this video.
Yeah, we'll do
Plug,
that
plug,
as the
plug.
last thing. We'll talk about the multiplayer thing we have planned.
Really?
So anyway, Dave, you were saying random element for competitiveness?
Yeah, it's some kind of randomization element where if all players, major factions, UK, Germany, Italy, Soviet Union, whatever, etc., there is like a random button, and that would randomize the amount of factories they start with, the manpower they start with. It gives. I know this is kind of really going to get on the nerves of someone who really likes that historical itch, and I am one of those guys myself. But if you want a system where players are going to face players and you can actually find out who is the most skillful Hearts of Iron player. The only real way of doing it is have some randomization. Let the player be unexpected and surprised with what they see in the game.
Wrongly disagree. And the reason why I strongly disagree is that will just encourage people throwing games.
It will. People will just say like, "Oh,
Yeah, I
it's
think
unbalanced."
the answer is exactly the opposite. I think the answer would be to say, okay, this is multiplayer competitive mode. So the three different alliances will have in total the exact same amount of factories, and they will have the exact same amount of manpower, and they will have the exact same amount of units to start with. So you would have a setting where everything is balanced from the get-go, and no holds barred. They can declare war whenever and however they want and stuff like that.
I
That would be
think the reason why a lot of people do, because I've watched a few multiplayer scenarios on YouTube, and it almost seems like they're always decided from like within the first two episodes. You know what I mean? It always seems like so blatantly obvious. And the only conclusion that I can come to the reason why is just that people don't play Hearts of Iron kind of competitively. It's kind of
don't think
the
you
AI
can.
makes up. Well, that's what I mean. That's why I'm proposing this randomness, or in your case, what you propose is pretty good as well. The whole idea of a static system as well.
balanced. You start with a balanced scenario. It's like you don't sit down and play chess and to discover who's the best chess player by everybody rolling a die 6 for how many queens they get.
True.
Yeah.
I still feel that I need, because I played StarCraft 2 ranked mode 1v1. I don't think. All right, maybe I'm blowing my own trumpet here, but I can't think of any other scenario where it feels like so much is on the line for you and you are facing one other person. You can't blame your teammate. It's 1v1. So I honestly feel like I want to play a scenario where I want to find out if I am a significantly better player than that other person. And I don't feel like I get any better if I'm playing against someone who has some kind of unfair advantage.
Okay, then let me just interject this real quick. I don't think Hearts of Iron game is the correct game if you're looking for a balanced, competitive gameplay to test your skill. It's just not that kind of game.
Agreed.
I don't deny that.
RTSs
I don't deny that, but
and other
The
games
way
like
to
that
do it though,
are
to
set
be,
up
to
for
be
it.
honest, if you were looking for a way to determine the best Hearts of Iron player in a sort of
So you have single
in
player.
a absolute sense, you would have to do several consecutive battles where you would have like 2 or 3 teams and they would rotate through the nation so that you sort of let's say you had 6 players, 2 for each faction, and then they would do Then the first team one would be England, France. Team two would be Germany, Japan, and team three would be Russia and whatever.
That's a very big time investment, though.
Yeah, I know,
Yes,
but
Something
if you,
like
if you
that,
wanted
like
to do a
games can last hours.
yeah, if you wanted to do a tournament where you would sort of a ranking where you would say this is the best Heart of Iron player, you would have to find
You'd
something
have
that
to.
would
You'd have to.
do well as any nation over time.
Yeah.
I do agree. Yeah, I agree. Hearts of Iron 4 ain't this kind of esports game that's going to be a competitive
It's
esport
not.
anytime
It's
soon.
definitely.
But that doesn't mean it shouldn't try. I don't mean there shouldn't be it'd be really nice if there was something in that gave an ability for people to play competitively if they wanted to.
I
And
agree.
now actually
That's-
talking about this, it gets me excited to try and jump on host, have some randoms join and see if I can stomp them just to see. I don't know, just to see if it's possible. Because I guess from my perspective, I like to see progress. You know what I mean? Like with my YouTube
Sure,
channel
sure.
as well. If I'm not improving, things aren't getting better, I'm asking myself why, and I don't get better unless I challenge myself.
Hang on. Wasn't there a system in one of the Creative Assembly Total War games where you could enable people to hot join
Yeah, yeah.
battles in single player game?
Yeah, yeah. I remember. I think that was in
Shogun.
Napoleon and Shogun.
Yeah, started Napoleon.
It was Napoleon and Shogun, where it was like,
Yeah. You could have something like that for Hearts of Iron where you could sort of troll people.
I disagree with that. Nobody
It
would
doesn't-
join.
Well,
Like,
it doesn't
who would-
work the same way because
Oh,
with
I would
battles.
definitely join. If I could just jump in and beat France in somebody's Germany game, oh, that would be so hilarious.
I don't know. I just feel like that would
Alex has invaded your world.
Yeah, right.
you a lot of times you just get either some really crappy player that's going to be worse than the AI, or somebody that's insanely good and is going to wreck you. Yes, I know
Yeah.
it's possibly
Right,
worse than
right.
the AI.
I don't even think that's the
And
problem, to be
trolls.
honest.
Then you open it to trolls, people that are just going to hoard their units in one city,
Well, then you just
so
turn
they
off
all
the-
die of lack of organization.
You just turn off the feature. But I don't think that's a problem. I think the problem is that it doesn't work as well as a Total War game because a Total War game has two game states. They have the campaign map, the turn-based campaign map, and then
Yep.
they have the real-time battles. Whereas in Hearts of Iron 4, it's just one thing. I just don't think it works as well because there's no separation of the playing fields.
To be honest, I think multiplayer in the Hearts of Iron series has always been strongest when you're either doing cooperatively one big nation so you can share the workload, or when you're doing co-op as allies doing comp stomps, or when you're doing a role play heavy, let's enjoy the game for what it is and not really care about who actually wins the war, but more of putting up a good fight and sort of good sportsmanship kind of thing where you go, okay, you beat me as Germany invading my Russia thing, but I was trying this thing and that thing, and that didn't work, and so yeah, good fight, good night. The whole competitive thing where Nana and a Boo Boo, I'm better than you, not the best game for it because there's always some excuse where the AI fucked me over or my allies didn't help me or yeah. So
Every time somebody mentions the AI, I just start laughing. I just can't not laugh.
Joke.
it is a pretty funny thing, but no, I think, like I said, competitive mode for Hearts of Iron is not really viable. But that's not to say you can't play against each other, but you have to have the mindset that this is not gonna determine who's the better player. More like the goal would have to be
We'll
for
see.
everybody to have a good time. Yeah, we'll see.
India will
We'll see.
rise again.
Oh, that's right, you India. Ah.
The greatest nation in Asia by no
I-
means.
I border you, don't I?
Russia doesn't
What?
border India.
No.
No, I do through
no.
Xi'an King.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, over the
Oh
Himalayas.
no.
No.
There's like a really thin border between Afghanistan and India.
Yeah.
The one you're talking about. No, don't border, but damn, you're right. It's very, very close.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right, guys, we're starting to get off the multiplayer topic here. So if we wanted to quickly,
That's
as you
definitely
guys
a
said,
multiplayer topic.
discuss the multiplayer series
Yeah, let's do that.
really quick, and then we can end this podcast.
Because everybody
So-
seemed to love our previous campaign where we were the Between Two Seas alliance thing.
Yeah,
So we decided
Yeah.
to do a new one.
Explain the
And-
full scenario, and then we'll kind of just tell you what we're all playing and what
Yeah.
to expect.
So
Okay,
we're bringing in some new people this time. We're bringing in
Ooh.
Dave, of course. We're
Hi.
bringing in, if some of you might know Glenn Games, and
Glenn
his
Games.
friend. What was his channel's name? GT Games?
Rated GT.
Rated GT Games.
Rated GT.
So we're having a total of 7 people, and I think Alex wanted to say something about it.
Yeah, we have 7 people, so we thought, well, we could do sort of a Axis versus Comintern versus Ally scenario, but we decided it would be sort of the problem being, like Dave alluded to, a lot of multiplayer games seem to be decided very early on, and we didn't want that. So we decided we'll start off with the Comintern on one side and the Allies on the other, stomping the Axis like it was historically. And once that's done, the Comintern and the Allies will be allowed to turn on each other. So to facilitate this, we have divided the countries as follows. We have human players on one side for England, France, America, and India. That would be the Allies. Stinky allies. Dirty communist, no, dirty capitalist pig dogs. And then on the other side, the glorious...
That's right. That's right.
Dave, you're turning on your own team. We're dropping subtle hints to what side we're on here. Just subtle little hints.
Stinky communists. I agree. Stinky communists.
No, he said capitalists at the end though, and you said I agree.
No,
turning on your own faction.
Yeah,
I
get what you
agree.
mean.
Stinky communists. I agree, Alex. I agree.
Good. We're all agreed. We should return to gold standard. Now, on the other side, there is the Soviet Union, I think Romania, and I want to say...
PRC.
China?
Yeah,
People's
the People's
Republic
Republic
of
of China.
That's gonna be
China.
interesting.
I honestly was not paying attention to anything that you're saying, but I just figured China's probably the answer.
China is always the answer.
Exactly.
In
So
international
should we tell them who everybody's playing, or should
Why
we
not?
just?
I don't-
Ooh.
Sure.
There's no
Okay,
reason to
I'll
keep it a
start.
secret.
I
Yeah.
am going to be the glorious, the fabulous, the most awesome faction of all. I will be Gandhi with nukes, and I will defend our land of India against all foes. And the border I'm going to be focusing on the most is that little one between Afghanistan, because I'm watching you, Alex, you dirty communist scum. I am going to come for you, and I am going to get you. This feels like WrestleMania. I'm going for you, and I'm going to lay down the heat on you.
I
Be
feel
prepared, Alex.
level 3 forts on that board, level 9, 10 forts on that border is probably...
We level 3. Oh, I'm going level 10 then.
Level 10 forts in the Himalayas. That's going to be real easy to crack, isn't it?
Oh,
All right, okay, I'm done. You go.
the millions of men that would be needed to crack that.
Yep. And no surprise, I am, yes, the glorious Stalin Soviet Empire Russia thing that's gonna
Yeah,
decimate all comers. Yeah. No, da.
Yeah, you.
We have vodka. We have great vodka. We have the best vodka. We have a really good vodka.
All right.
Okay.
I'm gonna be playing the United Kingdom because Royal Britannia rules the waves. I'm sorry, I had to quote
Capitalist
that.
pig dog.
Excuse me. It's my turn.
You are great,
no.
oh glorious master. You are, oh
Yes.
great, oh master.
Just watch, Alex. Watch the Baltic Sea. My ships are coming for you.
Improve,
all I have to
improve
say.
our infrastructure, sir.
And
Improve our
love
infrastructure.
things that
Make us
invent-
glorious again.
I'm gonna reclaim my empire that I technically still have.
Good luck with that.
I'm going for Belgium's. I want Belgium's land in Africa.
Waffle.
I'm going for it.
Waffles.
And Seth,
Yes, I am of course playing as America.
America.
Fuck yeah.
Exactly.
Great song.
Exactly. That's all that really needs to be said. We're coming flying high, freedom through the sky.
Freedom. Delivering freedom.
Yep.
Yep.
From those.
Well,
Well, I
I'm
guess
looking
we
forward to
at this
freedom
point the
zone.
Red Scare wasn't really in effect. That didn't come into effect until
That wasn't until later. Well, when
the
they
Cold
got
War.
really started.
That's gonna be the concept for the Let's Play, though, isn't
Let's just say it happened early.
it? Well, it depends how quickly we can defeat the
Well,
Axis.
it's pretty
What-
much
what do you guys-
Operation Unthinkable.
Yeah. How do you think we're gonna? How quickly do you think we will have defeated the evil Axis fascists?
Ooh, that's
Oh,
a good
wait.
question.
Quick. If we're both contributing in that, it's not going to take long.
Well,
No.
let me put it this way: you better be contributing because you can bet your ass I'm gonna be kicking their asses.
Of course.
So if you want any of that juicy land in Europe, you should probably declare pretty quick.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
be watching for the purge.
Oh,
Mr.
and we're
Alex.
democracy.
We'll be
Yeah, I
watching-
know. We are the
Damn it.
democracy.
I'm not doing the purge. I'm doing the civil war.
Ah, yes, of course you are. What?
Who
Okay,
needs
we
a
know when to
purge?
strike. Then.
Second
We
to
know
let
when
that
to
sink
strike.
in. Just like, whoa, wait, what? Oh, okay.
The Afghani border doesn't seem as big anymore.
Oh god, this is gonna be.
All right, boys. So, let you
do it.
know, my voice, I'm the British guy. I am Dave, Feedback Gaming, youtube.com/Dave, Feedback Gaming. I've got the word Dave in the front because I'm Dave. Do you see how that adds up? My name's Dave.
What was your name again?
Yeah, wait, what?
My name
Fred?
is Dave.
Fred?
Dave. That branding. The
Daniel?
branding. Dave.
Yeah, Daniel.
No, seriously, give me a subscribe, guys. The way you should subscribe to me is I don't know. I guess I'm trying to try something different, try wacky scenarios and whatnot. If you guys like hilarious, dumb kind of role play, kind of comedy style playthroughs, I'm the guy for you. And that's me done dusted. I'll let you guys sell yourself now. Sell yourself, Alex. Come on.
I'm
I know you
Alex
could do
Berg. I'm that Norwegian guy. Yeah, you should subscribe to me if you want monotonous, droning Norwegian accented English over semi-interesting Paradox Let's Plays. I do some other games sometimes, but lately I've been lazy. So yeah, I'm Alex Berg. You'll find me somewhere on the YouTube's link down below, I hope.
You had me at subscribe, Alex.
Oh yeah, I had you. way
True
before.
love. Oh. Okay. I'm that
Love
one awkward
British
guy.
crumpet.
That one awkward guy, that amazing Canadian. My channel is mostly me riding polar bears and creating igloos. Yeah.
Amazing Canadian. I love that.
I'm the amazing Canadian. Oh yeah. Eh?
Tagline.
That's gonna be a tag. I'm the amazing
Yes.
That
Canadian.
needs change your name again.
Happen.
Yes, another rebrand. We're rebranding again I literally did it less than a month ago. I'm not changing again.
Screw Northern Line. This is the amazing Canadian.
No, I pretty much do a lot of Mountain Blade, Hearts of Iron, that kind of stuff. If you're interested, check out my channel. Links in the description. And that's it. I'm not gonna sell out like you, Alex.
Oh, shots fired.
Oh, I'm a sellout now. Okay.
Subscribe with benefits.
Subscribers. and
Oh,
benefits.
God.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh god.
Well, I guess that leaves me.
Who are you?
I
That was who you are.
I pretty much, I play some of those Hearts of Iron 4s, those Crusader King 2s. I also play some actual action games, unlike everybody else apparently. But that's okay.
Hey, Mountain
It's okay.
Blade is action. There's fighting and shooting.
And
I
I'll
prefer-
play you for us an action game.
yeah, okay.
Practically COD.
But that's not the important part. I do tutorials on how to mod. That's there you go.
Yeah.
But actually, no,
Technical note.
I plan on doing more tutorials. And actually, if you check out my perspective on this podcast, what I was doing the whole time, unlike everybody else, since they probably just had their Skype on the background, it's okay. I understand. Can't be as great as me. That's fine. It's all right. But jokes, guys. Jokes. It got really quiet. It got really quiet, and I got worried. I was like, guys, it's a joke. Anyway, yeah, I actually, this is, I developed the thumbnail, as you can see, and you can watch the process, at least most of the process, as I was working on it and making this great thumbnail that, now that I think about it, none of you guys will be able to see until after it. But trust me, guys, it's great. I spent a lot of time on this, a whole
Made it from
hour,
scratch?
hour and 13. What's that?
It's the best thumbnail.
Entirely from scratch.
Yeah. Wait. Like, yeah, I did. Like, I don't know what you mean from scratch. Do you mean like I drew the art? Because no, I didn't draw the art.
Oh, okay.
No, he stole the art from the internet.
Exactly.
Like everybody else.
You think I can draw?
I thought you could draw. I thought you were an artist.
Oh,
My life
no.
is ruined.
You seriously thought I was an artist?
No.
Okay, as a 6.
Cringe. Okay. That's that, I think.
That
So
wraps
brings
up our
out
first
awkward-
podcast. There we go. Well, yeah, I guess this is a podcast.
Yeah,
That's
best
the
of
War
luck.
Room podcast.
And we're going to do it again.
We
Yeah,
should
we're
do it
gonna
again,
do
I
it.
agree.
Let us know, guys. Do you, if you're looking to have this thing like every other week, every week? We just want to get a sense of how much you guys like it. So make sure to comment your opinions down below. Anything you'd like to see us change? Any other games you might want us to talk about? And
Better name
Comment
than
if you
War
made it to
Room.
the end.
Yeah,
Comment if you made it to the end. Comment what we should talk about in future.
Wait.
Comment to say how much you love Alex. And if we get 10,000 thumbs up, that's optimistic. If we get 100 thumbs up, then Alex will
Nope.
What will I, Dave? I'm really excited to hear this. What will
What
I
was
do?
the first thing that
Surprise.
came to your
When we
mind?
get 100 likes, Alex will do something.
Something.
Yes. I will do.
All
I
right,
will
guys, I'm done.
Okay, hold on.
Yep.
Real quick. Also, make sure we don't have more than 4 people, because otherwise my thumbnail is going to be broken, and it's going to be really hard to change and add another person to this thumbnail. But you guys will see. You guys will see.
We're not gonna have more than 4 people.
Good,
I'm
because
excited for this
otherwise,
thumbnail.
otherwise the thumbnail
Grymic is the
broken.
king of thumbs. He is
The
greatest
king of thumbs. The king of thumbs.
And he has 4 of them, so that's all you get. Okay.
The king is
Alright,
dead.
well,
Long
alright.
live the thumbs.
Long live the thumbs.
Subscribe to Alex Berg. Do it.
See you like. Good night, guys. God bless.
Don't do it. Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming in.
Adios, amigos.
Adios.